once, my ass.
I'm on my floor. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Robert.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the short podcast about short films. I am your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 55th year of the award at the 59th Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 1986. Today's guest is a good friend of mine and the owner of the Every Elvis Second Twitter account. Please welcome Chloe. Hello, Chloe.
Hello. Thanks for that great introduction. Yes, I am most famous for having an Ellis account, which is sad, but that's my moniker, I guess.
Yeah, it's how I learned about the great Chloe, and it's just one of the great joys in my life at this moment in time. Just going on the account looking for more Colonel Parker pictures to retweet, and it's just one little bit of sanity that keeps me going.
Yeah, fascinating. On the other hand, it's the one thing that drives me nuts, having to post pictures of that every day because I don't know how to do it with a bot. So I'm just grinding, I guess.
I mean, you are doing great work. At this point,
Thank
it's
you.
going to be over pretty soon, right? Like we only have a few more months left.
It should be over in September.
Oh, wow.
Or which yeah, I'm right now screenshotting like the second to last scene. I'm in that process. So the thing is, there's a lot of credits,
There is
which
a
is gonna
lot
be
of
boring.
credits.
But yeah, I'm right now in the process of screenshotting the scene where Elvis and Priscilla are in the car, which is not at all relevant to this podcast. But I guess I
No, no,
guess
no. We can go on tangents. I allow it, especially with something like the Every Alpha Second Twitter account.
all right.
Yeah, sorry. But tell us what is your familiarity with the best animated short category?
I have a gripe with this category. As you know, I take pride in predicting Oscars. It's a fun hobby that drives me nuts. And the closest I've been to a perfect score, I think there were 22 categories on not the last Oscars, the one before, the one where Coda won. And I got 21 out of 22 right, except for Best Animated Short. I think the two like front runners were like Robin and the Windshield Wiper, and I guessed the wrong one, and I almost got a perfect score, and I had made a bet with my friend that would make me lots of money if I won, and I didn't because I missed by one thing. So I'm bitter, but shorts are fun. So that yeah, I enjoyed it. Well, I enjoyed watching some of the ones that I had to watch for
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I specifically gave you this year in particular just because I felt like it was a very like easy year to watch. Like none of the shorts are too long or anything. It's just like it just thought it'd be an easy entry for a guest who hasn't seen that many. Which is totally fine. So many of our guests have only seen just like the Pixar shorts or things like that. Uh,
Right.
which will come up later, but we'll get there when we get there. Um, but yeah, and in terms of just predicting this, like I have such a bad record with predicting this category. He also like I'm worse with live action short, but like if there's not like a very, very clear front runner, I will not get it right. It's like I think it's because I do watch the nominees and I end up picking like, oh, this is the clearly the best one. It surely must be this one that'll win. And it's not. It's never the best one. It's never the good ones that win. Especially
Yeah,
these past few years where
right.
like
Sorry, go ahead.
you go ahead.
Okay, no, right. I usually don't keep up as much. I try to watch everything and I leave the shorts for the end, so sometimes I don't get to watch them all. So I will usually, since I don't have time to like research and stuff, I will just go with the consensus. And lately, the consensus on the short has been wrong. So, yeah, the masses have led me astray.
Hmm. Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say after that was just iterating that of the of the 2020s, these last three ceremonies, the three winners have been literally the bottom three of all the shorts nominated in this past 3 years. It's like Windshield Wiper, If Anything Happens, I Love You, and of course, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, the Horse are just the three worst films I thought were nominated of these past 3 years. Yet they're the three winners.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them, but one of my friends saw The Boy, the Fox, the whatever, and he loaded that. And everyone I talked to hated it, and so I was not very surprised when it won.
Yeah, it's and the thing about that, it's like usually like it's a short that's very similar to like Robin Robin, and it's like those kind of storybook films almost never win. And so I was so certain that that wasn't going to win because they never give it to like the 30-minute British storybook films. But this year they just happened to, and it's the worst of all of them.
It's
But
just like lately, it's just always the most saccharine, boring. Like it's it's not fun. Like
it's not
I'm
fun.
surprised they haven't given an Oscar to Steve Cutts yet. Because it's you know the Steve Cutts shorts.
I'm
Uh,
I'm not sure.
he did you know the one with the rats called Happiness.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I
Well,
do. Is that the
well,
guy who makes like the wow, everybody's on their phones and the world sucks?
yes, yes.
Okay,
He
okay.
did that. He did that. Are you lost in the world like me? He did all this thing. And one day I sat down and watched all of his shorts.
Oh my God.
And Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't given him an Oscar because he's like, whoa, capitalism sure is bad, you know, guys. But it's like the most stupid, oh, people are on their phones thing. Uh, so yeah,
Maybe like once we get through this best animated short category, and when I open up to like just any short films, I'll bring you back just so we could do an episode on how much that guy sucks.
please, if you do a Steve Cuts episode, I need to be the guest because I like his. I'm looking at my letterbox right now. The highest rating I gave one of his shorts is 5 out of 10.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and I have given like half of his, like half a star. It's really bad. Can't I need for you to watch all of these?
I I will I will make a note to like keep him in mind. Uh, but for now, we're just going to get straight into the nominees for this year, and there are three of them. Our first nominee and the year's winner is A Greek Tragedy, directed by Nicole Van Gotham. This is the first and only nomination and win for producers William Tyson and Linda Von Tilden, and the first but not the last nomination for the Dutch production company Cinete. There isn't much to be found about any of the people involved here, though Nicole Van Gotham seems to be the most interesting. She was born and raised in Belgium. And she is an accomplished flautist, and her Wikipedia page states that she worked in nightlife, though I'm not sure exactly what that entails, whether she was an entertainer of some sort, or just worked at some clubs or what. In any case, when she was 30, she changed career paths and became an illustrator. Then she met the Belgian cartoonist Picha and ended up starting her animation career working on his raunchy sex comedies, starting with Tarzoon, Shame of the Jungle. Now, I had just found out about this film for the first time, and there's an English dub on YouTube featuring many SNL cast members, including John Belushi and Bill Murray in it. I skimmed through the film, and this thing is a sight to behold. Like, even just reading the Wikipedia plot description, the second sentence of it is the evil, bald, and multi-breasted Queen Bazonga, who resides in a blimp inside a cave shaped like a woman's legs spread open, revealing her vagina, plans to conquer Earth. In any case, after working on a handful of other people's films, Van Gotham finally makes her own short film, which is today's winner, as well as another film called Full of Grace, where nuns accidentally go to a sex shop and try to buy candles for their church. And that's the last I can find on her. Full of Grace was released in 1988, and she passed away unexpectedly in 2000 at the age of 56, with the only other information available to me being that she was working on a third film called Living Apart Together that I believe has not been finished by anyone else. It's always a pity how little info that can be found on some of these people, though sometimes I wonder if that's by design. Who's to say? Anyway, back to the short of the day. A Greek tragedy depicts three caryatids and their desperate struggle to keep a crumbling roof up. Chloe, what do you think of A Greek Tragedy?
I think this woman should have stayed working at the clubs. Like now that you tell me that she worked like at a club, like she did all that, like I think she should have stuck to that because I found this to be horrible. Very, very bad.
Oh, what?
Um,
What'd you hate about
yes.
it?
First of all, let's go with the title. What about this as a Greek tragedy? There are three women apparently in Greece. Um, I don't know what's so tragic about this. I was like I used to be like the kid that was really into Greek mythology, and so I was excited for this. Like, oh, cool, a little short about mythology. That didn't happen. I honest like look. I don't try to be positive. I'm a pretty cynic person, so I acknowledge that. But I can't think of a thing that I liked about this. I thought the animation was ugly. I thought the voice acting, as little as it was annoying. I thought the music was annoying. I thought it was vapid. I thought it had nothing to say. It was like Sisyphus, but like with boring. I don't know. Like I want to go in depth into this, but I literally have nothing to chew on because I felt like the short itself was too short to develop. Like they're trying to paint like the struggle of the women, like holding the pillar for eternity, I assume. But like they drop it like the third of minute number three. They're also really bad at their job. They can't hold that pillar for like if their life depended on it, which I guess it doesn't because they're free at the end. But I don't understand why this one. I thought it was really annoying.
I like this a bit more than you, and I also like this film a bit more than most other people because this is a film that ends up quite low in terms of the like on the letterbox like ranking of like the animated short winners. This ends up quite low on the list. But I liked it. Like I'm looking at it now, and it's the third lowest winner above only The Crunchbird and Sunday in New York, which are two other ones that are renowned for being awful, as we talked about in this podcast before. But I liked it. It's like first of all, I really like the character designs, and I think the character animation itself is very lively. Like it is simplistic animation, but I never really fault films for that. I think the character designs are nice, and I like them, and it's just like I enjoyed the I think like in its short runtime, I think it did everything it could do with the story. I think it tells the story in a good way. Like it's it's very light humor. Like I'm not doing a good job defending this film, but it's just like they're just these are these are stone statues that are built like I said, they're caryatids, which are like female statues that are built as columns to like hold up the roofs or whatever. And so this film just brings these characters to life in like a ancient the crumbling ruins of some ancient Greek city. Like these three women are just there to hold up the remnants of this roof. This is what they were built to do. They've been doing this for centuries, and now they're still there. But this is like the final days of their whole time holding this roof as it's crumbling on top of them. And I think there's some good gags there, like when the umbrella comes in and hits one of the pillars out of there.
Now that you mentioned the umbrella, that really took me out of it. Like right now, I'm on the Wikipedia page for umbrella because that was a really modern looking umbrella. That took me out. Like I know it's a little gag, but I was annoyed that they did it. Like why an umbrella? Why not something like topical to the period? So
Well,
I'm in the Wikipedia
it's
page for
meant to be
umbrella.
modern. Like that's the thing. Like this isn't like a new building. This is the crumbling ruins. It's just like after centuries of being there. Or, like it's
Right. Yeah, but I didn't like it.
I know you did. But also it's just like but then it's just like once they finally like once the two of the statues are finally knocked down, and the third one, like seeing that she's all alone, she just gives up the struggle to hold it up. That's when they realize, oh, they didn't have to do this after all. They could just be free of the struggle. Well, and it's just like, yeah, I like that ending. I like that they like. It's like everybody asks, like, we have to imagine Sisyphus to be happy, but wouldn't he be happier if he just didn't roll the boulder? Like, come on. I
Um,
know there's so many problems with that. That's just a joke. But
oh yeah. I was thinking about what like I was trying to like be fair to the short and be like, what is it trying to say? So the holding of the remains of this old building, I thought they were trying to say something on like the preservation of tradition, which isn't healthy to people. And I really tried to like be fair to this short. Like, oh, maybe it has something meaningful to say. And you know what? Maybe it does, and maybe it just didn't connect with me. But I thought it was stupid, and I struggled to see why it won. Uh, um, I think it won because like maybe like the old white dudes at the academy thought it was funny to vote for the short that had boobs. Like, what was that groundbreaking back then? I don't
I
know.
probably not.
I don't know.
We've had some
Ralph,
real sex comedies in this category before.
like Ralph Bashki was making movies at this time, right? What year are we in?
We're in
80s? Yeah,
'86, so like he was making his feature films in, like the '70s.
exactly. Like, animated boobs, they're great, but like good people.
So
I don't know.
on your first point where it's like, does it have something to say? I think like I don't think it needs something to say, but I think like if you it can be read as like a feminist allegory where it's just like women as a culture have been like told to like take care of all these things, like hold up the home, and but that is just like it's about like liberating yourself from those chains that society has placed upon you, and learning to be free. But like it's a very like sure, this is like idea that's like 15 years too late for when it was like really trending thing, but it it it's simple enough. It's just like I think it works. uh yeah, and on your second point, why did this film win? uh so there's a weird trend in this category where it's just like often it comes up where it's just like, how does the Academy like even pick films to win? Like, what trends are there with the winners? And I think, and I talked about this on a previous episode, but I think what really ends up being is that they just pick the films that are light comedy. Like, they don't really like the Academy voters who watch these films, they don't really care about being about furthering the form of animation. They don't care about things being super detailed. They just want to get a light laugh because I guess they're still in that mindset of like the old studio days when like before every film you had like a Tom and Jerry short. It's just like, haha, that's funny. Now get on to the real movie. And so it's like I feel like when they watch animated shorts, they are looking to laugh, and so they want to pick the films that are the funniest ones. And so and with our other two nominees, they aren't that funny. And so it's just like I guess they wanted to pick the funny one. And
Right.
so
As to why did it win, I also thought I was reading up on it, and we'll get to this because it's from a different short. But I did hear that there was like a bias against CGI at the time. You know, Luxo Jr. being like the first CGI nominee
mhm.
for any Oscar. So I was like, oh, I guess that was into play. But you probably know more about this than I do.
I
So,
could imagine like the CGI being like people working against CGI at the time, and I guess I have seen like that the more experimental in terms of the form kind of winners like don't win too much, but I wouldn't, because only a few years later do we get Pixar's first win with Tin Toy, uh, and so I don't think the CGI had that much to play with. I think with Luxo Jr., I think it's just because that's like a 2 minute short film with no actual plot or anything. But yeah,
right.
we'll get there when we get there. Um, but anything else you'd like to say about Greek tragedy?
It sucks. That that's it.
I
Well,
I'm the
they try to make Sisyphus transgender and it doesn't work. That's all I say. Like it clearly doesn't work. Sisyphus is a man.
okay. I like this. I like transgender Sisyphus. But
Okay. Yeah,
our
of
sec
course you do. The woke left has turned Sisyphus gay. Whatever.
okay. Uh, our second nominee is The Frog, the Dog, and the Devil, directed by Bob Stenhouse. This is Stenhouse's first and only nomination, as well as the only nomination for the New Zealand Film Commission. Stenhouse has always had an interest in animation from a young age, and after graduating with a fine arts degree from Canterbury University, worked as a graphic designer and effects artist for local news, and worked there for 12 years. Then in 1980, joined the National Film Unit of New Zealand. He made a handful of shorts with the unit, including today's nominee and other films like The Domino and Burning Yearning, until the unit closed down in 1990. But that didn't stop Stenhouse from making his films. He would form his own animation studio and to this day still works on various animated projects. So let's take a look at The Frog, the Dog, and the Devil. This was a film entirely made almost entirely by Stenhouse, with every step of the animation process being done by him. The only parts not done by him were the fact that it's loosely based on a poem by Ernie Slow called The Godly Ghost or The Devil's Daughter, and the sound design of the film was done by other people whose names I can't find. So, what's it about? The Frog, the Dog, and the Devil is about a man who steals a bottle of whiskey, but with the combination of his drunkenness and guilt, starts to see demonic visions as he travels through a dark forest. Uh, I really like this one. I thought it was really fun. I think it has this like really nice, fast-paced energy to it. It like especially once he starts his like ride and we start seeing like his horrific visions or whatever. And I think it's just a well animated short. I like the style. I've seen people compare it to the likes of Don Bluth, but I think it's even more like more comparable to like Ralph Bakshi and like his Lord of the Rings stuff, even though there's not much rotoscope in there, but like that kind of era. Uh, it's it's not a very deep movie, I would say, but I think that doesn't matter. I just had a lot of fun with it. What about you, Chloe?
So here's the thing. I really like this, especially like while I was seeing it. But then I think about it and I can tell you like half of the things that happened, which I guess is like that is kind of the point of the story because it's very like confusing. It's about this guy's drunken, well, not drunken, like hallucinations from being on from not drinking. I forget the word. Withdrawal. There we go. Yeah, so I really can't remember a lot about it. You know what it reminded me of? Well, it kind of reminded me a bit of the Pink Elephants on Parade scene from Dumbo.
Oh.
Like, not necessarily stylistically, but like plot wise. But mostly, it's just like a big budget early 2000s Flash animation. Like from the voice acting especially was like this is something somebody posted on like Newsground or whatever.
Mhm.
Because but I did think it was really fun. I like the animation. I like that it like constantly changed. Like it wasn't inconsistent in quality. It was just inconsistent in style. Like they
Yeah.
went everywhere. Uh, I really like the music. I like some good like Western tunes.
Mhm.
I had a lot of fun. I do think it's unfair that the frog, the dog, and the devil are in the title and not the poor drunk guy who is
Yeah.
the star of the show. Like I feel like that's just kicking him while he's down.
Yeah.
But I had fun with this.
Yeah, it's like the frog is first build, but he's barely in it. And it's just
Right,
like,
and the dog does nothing. The dog
yeah,
is just like on the back of this guy.
yeah. The only thing the dog does is just scare the guy even more because I think like at certain points he like sees a dog there but thinks it's like a scary wolf or something and just freaks out even more, even though it's his dog. But
Yeah.
yeah, I remember like the first time I watched this and I just had no idea what was going on, but I still just absolutely loved it. It became one of my favorite nominees ever. But at this point, I understand what's going on a bit more, but also I love it a little bit. Yes, I still love it a lot, but it's just not like top tier nominee for me anymore. But yeah, and I didn't even realize like the plot of it until this watch, where it's just like what happens is like he fills like this whiskey bottle full of just like water from the trough outside, and that's how the frog gets inside it because he's just in there too. Who and then like he places it, hides it in his bag. Then he asks the bartender to give him a bottle of whiskey so he can pay for it. He puts it in his bag, but it turns out he doesn't have money, so he has to give the bottle back. But he grabs the one with just water in it, gives that back to the barkeep, and then he goes on his journey. He's drinking. Has all the horrific visions, and that most of the short is just, oh, look at this weird shit.
Right,
Nightmare, nightmare,
the
nightmare.
the first 2 minutes, I was completely like I got it. You know, it's this guy that filled the bottle with water. The frog got in. He didn't have money. That I was on board. Then I was still on board, but I didn't know why I was on board because I did not know what was happening.
I don't
For
think
me,
anything is happening.
yeah, for me, it's a short that like I really enjoyed while I was watching it, and I still like it. But like, it's not one that like sticks with me because like, I I remember a few frames that I thought were cool, but like I couldn't tell you. I think it's by design, but I couldn't tell you a lot about it. Like it doesn't have like it didn't resonate with me the way like it resonated with you on first watch.
Hmm. Uh, I I also want to point out that this is the second short in a row with naked women in it. I think that's fun.
Yeah, and the superior one definitely.
Yeah. And the women are
Again,
harder too.
and the women are hotter. They're not like stone women with like drapes of like transparent drapes that like barely cover them up.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I wondered like why the guy was scared of the women. Like, is he gay or something?
that's a good point. He has that like 80s porn stash that gay guys like to sport in the 80s. But also this happens in like the early 20th century. So I don't know. Uh, I'm not gay. I like women and boys, and I'm still very scared of attractive women. So that could happen to anybody, you know?
It could happen to anyone. This
Yeah,
is a PSA. Be reach out to people who are scared of women and let them know that they're in
yeah.
good hands.
Especially if you're a woman. If you're a woman and you're very attractive but scary, reach out to me.
Hmm.
That I don't mind,
Please DM Chloe on Twitter.
please.
But but yeah, and then there's the ending of the film where it's like he goes back to the bar and then he pays. He tries to pay for the drink, but also he gets the whiskey with the frog in it, but doesn't even drink it because he still sees the scary woman. And that's it. That's the ending of the short. And like I said, I think it was very fun. I love the animation. I love the music. It's just a very good experience, and it's a good use of what was it, like 8 minutes, 10 minutes. It's a good short film. That's the
Yeah, I
that's
should have definitely been stoned for this. But I enjoyed it sober. So good movie.
there's a lot of nominees in this category I that my guests end up saying it's like, oh, I should have been stoned when I watched this film. It's
Yeah.
just,
That
I
that
guess.
should be the rule for most movies in general, I think. Like you should just be high watching movies.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess it's really just because like animation as a medium, like it lends itself to, kind of absurd imagery that, is enhanced when high.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say about Frog Dog and Devil?
Um, no, it's pretty cool.
All right. Then our third and final nominee is Luxo Jr., directed by John Lasseter. This is the first nomination for Lasseter, as well as producer Bill Reeves. And here we are. Pixar has entered the scene with its first nomination, and with its arrival comes a sign that everything will be changed forever. This is the first nominee to feature 3D computer graphics, and in less than a decade, we will see Pixar release the first computer animated feature film, Toy Story, and from there CG animation will overtake the animation industry. But for now, Pixar is just a small effects company. They got their start at the New York Institute of Technology, and the college's founder, Alexander Schur, was collecting computer scientists and bringing them to the computer graphics lab with the goal of creating a computer animated film. He funneled millions of dollars into the lab, but the scientists were realizing that they didn't really have the proper creative system in place to make a real film and needed to work with the actual film studio if they wanted to make a narrative feature. Faith in the project dwindled, but George Lucas came knocking at their doors, wanting to hire them for Lucasfilm, and he saw their potential for computer graphics in filmmaking. So he formed the Lucasfilm Computer Graphics Project. The group would work to develop the new technology further and further, and it would be implemented in some Lucasfilm projects like Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan and Young Sherlock Holmes. But the idea of a wholly CG film never left the group's minds. So in comes Sex Pest John Lasseter. He was an animator who graduated from Cal Arts, absolutely adored animation and Disney in particular his whole life. So it was a dream come true for when he was finally hired by Disney and then later fired after 4 years. However, he had some connections with people at Lucasfilm, as well as an interest in computer animation, and was able to get on the project and animated on their first short film, The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. And by 1986, the company was looking to go independent away from Lucasfilm, and George Lucas wanted to sell it. There was only one offer for the company, however, from Steve Jobs, who at this point had left Apple and was working on the next computer. He had offered to buy the company for $10 million, which George Lucas thought was too low, but it was the only offer he got, so he went through with it. It was at this point where the company changed its name to Pixar, and here is when we get to Luxo Jr. The origins of Luxo Jr. can be traced back to John Lasseter's student film, The Lady in the Lamp, which also featured lamps coming to life, and was also short. And that film was also shortlisted for Best Animated Short category, but was not nominated. Lasseter himself has always talked about a fascination with giving life to inanimate objects, and so when put in the director's chair for the first true Pixar film, of course he was going to bring a lamp to life. Luxo Jr. is about a big lamp and a little lamp who must be Luxo Sr. and Luxo Jr. Jr. has found a ball and is playing with it until he suddenly pops it. He's sad for a moment, only to find a much larger ball. The film breaks the record for shortest nominee thus far. Chloe, what did you think of Luxo Jr.?
I liked it, but I think it's more of a short that you appreciate and like respect like historically than enjoy. Like yeah, it was cute. It was a little lamp, a very important lamp in the future, but a little lamp. I like the gag at the end where he came back with this huge ball. But that yeah, that's it. It's not like something like, oh, this is the best, this is adorable. It's just like a very important short, but not something that like I love. I liked it. It's cute.
It is cute. I think I feel pretty much the same way. Like I do really like the character animation on these lamps. I think it does an incredible job at giving these just lamps like a lot of personality. You can tell just everything they're thinking, think without them saying a single word or any kind of like musical cue or anything like that. It is solely through just the animation of the character. It does a great job at that, but it is only 2 minutes long. Like I think it's
Right.
like 2 minutes and 8 seconds, like exactly. And that is not a lot of time to get any kind of story in there, but uh it does tell this just cute little thing. Lamp playing with ball, ball pops, lamp has bigger ball. And it's like that last reveal, like you said, it gets a laugh, and then that's it. That's the whole thing.
Mhm.
And but
I-
yeah, like you were saying, it's like you appreciate it for like its whole uh the whole history that came from it and all that. And it's like it is kind of mind-blowing to think about how like they made this on 1980s computers. It's just like you, in a modern sense, it's like it's hard to even imagine though like it had these kind of capabilities back then, but they
Right.
did, and they made
And
this
even
film.
now it holds up. Like again, as you said, the lambs have so much character and they have like zero human features. They're like pretty much like what a lamp looks like. Like
Hmm.
that's just like a lamp, and they have so much character and so much animation. You feel like the emotions from the dad lamp, the Luxo Senior and Luxo Junior, like how Luxo gets disappointed when the ball breaks. Um, I wouldn't know what this feels like because my dad didn't play with me when I was a kid, but but I understood it. I
Hmm.
sympathize.
You sympathize. It's like I also sympathize with Luxo Senior because he, like, even in just his slight movements, you can tell he's kind of like he's a little annoyed with his son being so hyperactive. Is like he's kind of glad when the ball pops, but then he's just like terrified when he finds the bigger ball. And then it's just like I also wanted to say that I another thing that's really great about this is the sound design. Like the little sounds of like the lamps jumping around and everything. It's so good. The sounds are just so good. And it's just like, and you can recognize, some of the sounds because they were reused in like the famous Pixar logo with
Right.
Luxo Jr. jumping around and crushing the eye and whatever. And it's just like that sound design is just so fucking good.
Yeah, I like that it doesn't overstay its welcome because you could definitely like get annoyed at that sound for like 5 minutes.
Hmm.
But again, I mean, it doesn't overstay its welcome because I think it was pretty much impossible to make this any longer on the equipment they were handling in the 80s. Like I think they would just break it. But still, I think it's the perfect length to be like a cute yet groundbreaking thing. It's kind of like not an experiment because they're clear like they're not like trying to get somewhere. They're clearly there already. Like they know how to use this. But it's like more of a showcase of, hey, look at us. We can do this, and it looks pretty fucking awesome.
I when I was researching this, I read this story about like when it first screened at like this big tech conference or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what. Uh, and it just got like a massive standing ovation. And it's just like it's almost kind of funny to imagine just like this crowd full of fucking nerds are seeing this film, this 2-minute short film, and just being so fucking blown away. It just like but like it is understandable though, because it's like this is such a big breakthrough in like animation. But also if you just think like ignore that, they just see a lamp crush a ball, and that is just the most mind-blowing thing.
I mean, people nowadays cheer at the movies for like bringing back dead people and putting in the movie. So, they cheer for everything nowadays. So like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm not American, so I haven't been to American cinemas. But like the way they scream about everything, I would bust a vein. So, you know what? I'm I let them cheer for anything. It'll get much worse in the future.
I I'll just say that like 99% of the time that is not true at all. Most people are like quiet during movies. It's just when you go to like, the annoying movies that uh
Right.
like opening weekend for like the Cape shit or whatever, it's just like, oh yeah, the crowds are gonna be awful.
Yeah.
It's like
I don't go to see superhero movies anymore. But once I had to like, I had like 4 hours free, and I had to like fill in time, so I went to see Guardians 3, and somebody booed at me when I left after like the movie ended because they didn't stay for the post credit scene, and I was like, "Yo, chill, come on." But yeah, it was a fun movie though.
I think it when I watched Spider-Verse, I just thought it was really funny how there was this one guy in my theater. He clapped or he cheered twice during the movie. It was when like there was a brief clip of Andrew Garfield in it, and when there was a brief clip, I think it was Tobey Maguire was the other one. And it's just like those were the only times he clapped it or said anything at all. Oh, it's just like Jesus Christ, you only care about those night movies.
I didn't know they were in Spider-Verse. I haven't seen any of
Oh,
them.
I'm sorry. I thought you'd seen it already. My
I
mistake.
I I don't worry. I don't care. I'm not
I
gonna watch
know.
them.
If you haven't seen the film by now, you definitely just do not care at all. Especially since
Yeah,
these are just such incidental things. It's not like they're big story beats or anything. They're just small
right,
cameos. And not even like new footage or anything. It's just scenes from the other movies. But
right.
yeah.
Which is
Uh
which is very early to Luxo Junior. We again, sorry, I go on tangents all the time.
it's okay. We love tangents on this podcast. Uh but yes, Luxo Jr. Uh anything else you'd like to say about it?
No, no, I would like to take this moment to what's the name of the director? John Lasseter.
John Lasseter.
Very cool guy. I love most of his movies. I miss early Pixar. I miss Toy Story 2, and I miss. Well, that's the only movie of his that I really love, but still, I yeah, I'm looking at his filmography. It's actually pretty rough, but I love Toy Story 2. I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you for that. Uh, we I'm not a fan of John Lasseter, not because of his movies, just because of the whole sexual abuse scandals around him. But that's okay.
Oh, well, why didn't he say anything to me
I did
before I started?
I tried. I didn't want to dwell on it. Like I did mention, like when I mentioned him in the paragraph, I did say "sex pest John Lasseter" as like his intro because I didn't want to like
Oh,
because
I didn't hear that.
I'm
You
sorry,
should have stopped me.
but it's just like
Uh, yeah,
it.
correction. I hate all of his movies. I don't like him.
It's okay. I know you didn't know. Uh, but that's just a rough thing here because it's like yes, John Lasseter is incredibly important to like the development of like CGI animation and like Pixar and everything. We're gonna have to talk about him so much as Pixar gets more and more nominations here, but he is not a good person as it's like gotta I have just have to find a way to balance that.
Well, I'm not gonna be invited again anymore because I just praised the sex pest.
Yeah,
Damn it.
you're okay. I know you didn't know anything about him. Uh, but yeah, um, now that we've gone through and talked about these three nominees, let's rank them all. And Chloe, start us off with your number three.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. My number three is a Greek tragedy, which is a tragedy that this one.
Hmm.
That's the tragedy of the story. I said all I had to say about this. I don't like anything about it. Um, no, bad.
My number three. So I clearly liked all of these, but my number three is still a Greek tragedy. Like even though I was very defensive of it, I just didn't like it as much as Luxo Jr. or The Frog, the Dog, and the Devil. I think it's a fine film, but just certainly not as good as the other two. What's your number two?
My number two is Luxo Jr. because it's perfectly the middle ground in between a short that I didn't like and the short that I liked. This is just a short that I respect, I guess. I appreciate, but not something I'll go back to.
All right, my number two is also Luxo Jr. Uh, I it like I said, it's a short I do like a lot. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. I like there's a lot of stuff to like about it, but it's also very, very short to the point where it just feels almost like incidental. Well, like when you're watching it, it's just gone in a flash. And it's like I do want a bit more substance, but for what it is, for what's there, it's still pretty good. And your number one, Chloe, which we apparently agree on.
The Frog, the Dog, and the Devil. I thought it was
Yay!
funny. I enjoyed everything about it. Like I didn't love it, but I enjoyed everything about it. I thought it was fun. I liked the music. The voice acting was funny.
Hmm.
The silhouette, the animation was interesting. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I totally agree. It definitely should have won. It's just a really, really good short film with good animation, like you were saying, good animation, music, everything. It's just a good film, which is
Very much.
something we always enjoy in this category. We always like when things are good.
Yeah.
We don't like when things are bad.
Well, you do a lot of the
Apparently, I
time.
do. Yeah, actually, there is. I guess there is a running trend that I tend to be defensive of the films that are bad. Like the lowest rated nominee on Letterboxd is Sunday in New York, and I was very defensive of that one too. I think it's another just like light comedy that I enjoy, and even The Crunchbird, which I don't even like, and another awful film. Uh, I've watched so many times just because it's like. I just can't get it out of my brain. I'll send the Crunchbird to you. I always send it to every single guest as just be like, hey, look at this fucking thing. This is an Oscar winner. But yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Well, surprisingly, we agreed on everything.
yeah,
That's a shocker for us.
I I've been finding that like in these like three nominee episodes, it's very easy to just have the same rank as my guests, even if we completely disagree on like our opinions, it's like we could still end up with a very similar rank. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes like I'm just completely opposite my guest, but sometimes we do agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Chloe, or anything you'd like to promote?
Well, I have nothing to promote because I'm not a successful person. So no. But thanks for having me. Go follow me on Twitter, which is where I spend most of my days, at CrybabyWalker9. That's from the movie Crybaby, which is great, and more people should see it. That's my promotion. Go watch John Waters' Crybaby.
Oh.
Okay. See, now this is the second time I have to praise a movie by a sex pest on this podcast, which is concerning. But if you take away the fact that Johnny Depp is like the protagonist of the movie, it's really good.
Things are not looking good for Chloe today.
No, this is gonna be the end of me. But yeah, go watch it.
It's okay.
Fun.
You're no stranger to being canceled on the internet.
No, not at all. Not really.
We think that John Lasseter deserves pickaxes.
Very much. And Johnny Depp too, by the way.
Johnny
Hate
Depp.
him.
Yes.
We don't like sex assault on this podcast.
We do not. We do not like abusive people.
Yeah. Well, that's a good note to end on.
Yes. Thank you, Chloe, for coming on the show. And thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.